Hey, and welcome back to Unqualified Critics. Today I'm reviewing Big Blue. You're my boy! In my opinion, the most interesting Capcom arcade one-up out yet. And Lord, have there been a lot of arcade one-up Capcom products, specifically a lot of Street Fighter products. So, in my mind, the big question with Big Blue was, is it worthy of a re-release? Now, yeah, you could say, well, you went out and bought it, so clearly it's worthy. But let's be honest, I bought it largely so I could review it for you all. And that was kind of my first thought. My second thought was, yeah, I would like to have this cabinet, so that put me over the top. I probably would have waited a little bit. Certainly would have waited until reviews were out before I pre-ordered it. And now that I have it, though, I feel like I've answered that question. At least for me, yes, this is definitely worthy of the re-release. The cabinet represents a high watermark, in my opinion, for arcade one-up quality. Namely, their attention to detail on this. They got away from the cookie cutter stuff, which I was okay with. I didn't really mind when all the arcade one-ups had the same template, but this one is taller than all the others. It stands above the other arcade one-ups in a way that Big Blue probably should, living up to that legacy. It looks great with that light up, extra tall marquee. The cabinet itself looks awesome. I like the riser feeling integrated with the rest of the cabinet's design, not just random print and stuff on there. So very cool. I also love the tilted down control panel. I don't know why this isn't being done on more arcade one-ups. But when you put this next to, say, my old Marvel cabinet, and the Marvel's got that perpendicular control panel, it kind of, Big Blue looks like less of a toy, is the only way I know how to put it, than the other previous arcade one-up products, except maybe Star Wars. But a lot of them look almost like a toy, which is fine. You know, these were in many cases back then $300 arcades. Arcades are expensive. 300's reasonably affordable for a lot of folks. And Arcade one-up now is asking for more money, so they need to kind of get away from being a toy, and they need to look more like somewhat serious arcade hardware. I don't think they need to be exactly the original level of quality at all, but I think they need to get a lot closer than they have in the past, and Big Blue represents that. They also, and this is a minor detail, but the light up deck protector is way better than the previous ones. Unless my eyes are playing tricks, I think that they've set this properly so that the LED light strip does properly diffuse through the control panel. And then the control panel has lots of white print on it, which glows awesome when it's lit up. So the light up deck protector, not something I ever cared about before, but I'm glad I have it here. When you buy this cabinet, however, you're going to want the version with the stool, in my opinion, because it's not quite tall enough to stand at. You know, for an adult to play this, you're probably going to be craning your neck a little bit, which is super weird because, well, it's Big Blue. It's the tallest arcade one-up yet. The monitor sits a little lower. It's a little less recessed. So they could have done better. I don't know if maybe it was more recessed and they reversed that decision because it was cutting off the artwork from below where the speakers are. I haven't watched any reviews on this yet, and it's not because I'm too good to watch other reviews or anything like that. It's strictly because I'll start inheriting other people's opinions subconsciously, and I don't want to do that. I want to come to you kind of raw with my opinion, you know, because why do a review if you don't have your own opinion? So I'm trying to stick to that, but even I've heard people complain about a few things. The volume level, the height, which I very much second, that is a real problem. But then other things like the speaker grill section being all black, it's not blue, it doesn't have a decal or anything. You know, I think that's okay. That didn't really bother me. To me, it was important that when you stand or sit in front of this cabinet, the artwork isn't necessarily cut off by, you know, the artwork on the bezel. By the cabinet itself, like it looked like it was in the renders, so it's not the case. But they should have made the monitor higher or recessed it better, somehow designed it so, you know, a normal adult could see this fine without having to hunch. So I would recommend playing this on a stool. You know, if you're above 5'7", 5'8", something like that, you're probably going to want to be sitting when you play this. Or, you know, you put it on a stand or something, but let's be honest, the part of the draw for these arcades is how they look. And once you just put that on a random shelf or stand or whatever, you kind of lose that. So that's in a nutshell. I mean, I really think they did fantastic with this arcade, but they were just a couple steps backward. Also, the audio, again, I don't think it's loud enough, similar to what some of the other review folks and people just general, you know, many of you I've seen in your comments. It's not loud enough, I agree. That they can probably fix with a firmware update. I think it would have been super cool if they debuted a more hi-fi audio system with Big Blue. They didn't. I don't think they had to. I think this cabinet will sell fine without it, but it would have been awesome to finally get decent quality audio out of Arcade1up. To me, though, the bottom line is the cabinet is well designed, and it more than justifies another re-release of Street Fighter. And I say that as someone who's jaded on all these re-releases. I'm not a huge fighting game fan. How many different Street Fighters do I need? I bought the original Street Fighter. I have the Capcom 12-in-1. I did sell the original Street Fighter. That one was more decor and maybe a toy, but I would say even below that, it was almost like furniture or decor. You couldn't really play with it that much. This one is above a toy. I think Big Blue represents, you know, a real game room piece. I think Arcade1up at their best are creating centerpieces for the game room. And they're not creating something that competes with the real original arcade. I would never claim that. But they can create nice centerpieces. Miss Pac-Man, Star Wars. And I think Big Blue is right up there. I think this is one of the best cabinets they've ever designed. And it's also the most connected. The PCB has an Ethernet port, but it also has a data-enabled micro USB port, which is great. I believe it has a USB Type A port too. I think I saw a video of someone had plugged in like a PlayStation controller and it worked. You know, it's not something I'm going to want to do is play these games with a normal handheld controller. But the point is they're giving you more connectivity in their PCB than ever. And of course it has Wi-Fi, so you can play online and you do get a firmware update right away. So hopefully they bring more firmware updates in the future. The games list is, I think, fantastic. In addition to Street Fighter Championship Edition, Hyper Fighting, and Turbo, you get Super Puzzle Fighter. So the first time we've seen a puzzle title on Arcade1up. Eco Fighters, the first time you see a shoot 'em up, and the Darkstalkers trilogy, which is just fantastic. A couple wrestling titles here with Muscle Bomber Duo and Slam Masters. Knights of the Round, which feels like Capcom's answer to Golden Axe, which adds a leveling dynamic to the typical beat 'em up formula of the time. I'm enjoying Knights of the Round quite a bit, so I always love when they throw a beat 'em up into these titles. I'm not a big enthusiast for fighting games. I've always been god-awful at fighting titles, and I've just never spent that much time playing them. So to me, they're more of a, it's fun to get into it for a couple matches. Awesome part of arcade history, but that's not something personally that resonates with me a whole lot. Beat 'em up, something where I can just turn off my brain and just smash some buttons and whatever while I relax for the day. That's a little more my speed, so I do enjoy that. I also like shoot 'em ups quite a bit. Eco Fighters is kind of weird as shoot 'em ups go with its cannon movement dynamic. It's got kind of a Captain Planet vibe, which is, depending on, you know, your point of view, it's kind of a cool bit of 90s kitsch. Capcom Sports Club is a really nice series of diversions, basically mini games, effectively mini sports games. Kind of has Wii Sports vibes if you've never played it before. So I think they nailed it with the games list. As always, there are other Capcom titles that would be probably fun to add to this and have it be a proper Big Blue multicade with just lots of options to play. But with this much variety and these many different titles and things like, you know, all three Darkstalkers titles, for example, I'm going to set my usual gripe aside to say, hey, we ought to be able to expand these cabinets and add more games. I think 12 is a good lineup here, and between the 12 titles with lots of variety and huge IPs, coupled with really great cabinet design for $5.99, I think this is probably the best value going right now for a new release Arcade1ups. I hope you found this review interesting. If you enjoyed watching it, please subscribe to the channel. Do make sure you hit the like button because, well, let's be honest, I'm a little late for this review. The cabinet was delivered while I was on vacation, and there are a lot of other reviews out there that you can watch. So if you watched this one and you enjoyed it, help me out, hit the like button to put the video over the top. And I will talk to you guys soon. Big shout out to all of my channel members. If you want to join Unqualified Critics, hit the red button below that says join, and thank you for watching.